3:30 CBS. Alabama -2.5. Ooh. 2.5 on the road at Texas A&M.
Yeah, so, okay. So for A&M, this might be a Super Bowl situation where you got to just forget how good you were those final three quarters against Arkansas, and that's always like a weird game, even though Texas A&M largely wins that game. I think okay, so this is what it comes down to for me. Is it a benefit of the doubt season for you? Are you just going to give Nick Saban carte blanche? Are you going to give Kirby Smart carte blanche? Are you going to give Ryan Day carte blanche, right? Or are you going to look at this year's squad as its own living, breathing thing, separate from where some of those power teams have been?
Well, so let me pause you because this is an interesting point. It is, I think we have to start the discussion around this whole notion that these are programs in decline. Because there seems to be a narrative out there that the 1-2 punch for A&M losing to Miami and then losing their quarterback is going to knock them down and out. And that it certainly makes it easier to poke fun at Jimbo. Everybody likes doing that anyway. And likewise, on the Bama side, the loss to Texas, the weird quarterback situation that culminated, I think, with the USF game, but has persisted throughout the year, that has also made it easy to question Alabama and Nick Saban and Tommy Rees. And it all sort of happens in its own space, totally separate from the fact that if you project out these teams the rest of the year, Bama projects as a 1-loss team, and A&M projects as a 2-loss team. These are still very good teams.
It's also a situation where we know everything that's happening around them more now, right? We know about Tennessee not throwing the ball as well this year. We know about LSU's defense being disappointing. So we know what the rest of Alabama's schedule, what Texas A&M's schedule looks like, which also makes that fascinating because that helps us to recalibrate expectations externally.
Let me start this conversation then with a different starting point than maybe you expected.
Okay.
Who is the better quarterback in this matchup?
So how would you define that?
Well, it's Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
And his obvious slate of physical tools.
Yeah.
And it's Max Johnson and his, I guess, obvious experience. And some of the flashes that we've seen from him. I think we know what the ceiling is for Max Johnson, but we also know where the floor is. Right. So with that in mind, you can define it however you want, because I know your rubric is often quarterback and defense.
Mm-hmm.
Which of these two schools has the better quarterback at the moment?
I think right now it's Alabama.
Okay.
I think the best of Jalen Milroe makes him the better quarterback. Now, we can talk about the inconsistencies, but we can talk about the inconsistencies for both, that they both hold on to the ball too long. I don't like Max Johnson's arm all that much, and so that sets him back for me. He started the year as a backup for a reason. So I'm going to go with Milroe being the better quarterback, but I'm also going to go with my belief system here. My belief system is if you're giving me a home dog with a great crowd and what appears to be, if not totally, mostly a great defense, especially up front. A Texas A&M defensive line that's been overwhelming teams up front. Win or lose. The pass rush wasn't there against Miami. I don't think Alabama's line is where Miami's offensive line is at the moment. And until proven otherwise...
Wow, really?
Alabama's line has not been good this year.
Wow.
And Miami has gotten a lot out of their offensive line so far. So, I'm going A&M here. I'm going A&M because I know I have questions about both of these quarterbacks. Alabama on the road, Jalen Milroe with a hostile crowd. We talked about this earlier in the week on our Monday show, or maybe last week, where it's just like any given play, Jalen Milroe is one of 5 different quarterbacks. And on the road in Kyle Field, what time is this game? I think it's the 3:30 Eastern game.
3:30 Eastern game. This game is on CBS.
I'm going to go with Ainias Smith. I'm going to go with Evan Stewart. I don't love A&M's offensive line, but if you give me a decent quarterback, which is what I think Max Johnson is, plus a very, very good defense, plus very specific weaknesses from Alabama, I'm still not buying the receiving core. I'm not buying the offensive line. And making great decisions for 4 quarters in a tough place to play in Jalen Milroe, I'm not there yet. I'm just not. So I'm going with my belief system. I'm underthinking it. I'm once again the engineer on the Underthink Express, Ty. Home dog with a very strong defense is good enough for me.
I have a serious mental block.
I know. You need to take this away. You need to make these two teams identity lists.
I know.
Right?
I know. You need to do kind of the blind sample.
Nameless, faceless, yes.
I can't, though. I can't. I have a mental block picking against Alabama, and I just don't think it's something I can do.
Okay.
I can't. Even in a year like this when they're not as good as usual, and, like on the heels of that conversation about these probably aren't teams in decline, they still project out as very, very good teams the rest of the way. However, Alabama's not as good this year as they've been. They're just not. They're not as good as they've been, and that's okay because they've been amazing. They've been a dynasty. They're still probably a dynasty, but they're not as good. And I think that's an objective statement at this point.
Look, I don't love A&M. I don't love Jimbo in a big game. I don't love the trend of his making very conservative calls and playing field position and like going away from what's working all too often. I have all that baggage in my brain right now with picking Texas A&M. But at the same time, I'm trying to do my best job in positioning these teams as unique to the year. And I think that is especially true this year. And I've liked enough of what I've seen that I can say the best thing in this game, to me, seems to be the A&M defensive line. And that matters to me at home.
Okay.
So I think they can force Jalen. We've seen, like, pretty often and consistently, Jalen Milroe make completely boneheaded throws.
Yeah.
Cost him against Texas some, hasn't at other times. So I don't know. I'm going with A&M. I'm going with defense at home as a home dog. Again, belief system.
I'm going to go back to my tackling stat.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to my tackling stat.
Please,
it was the stat that I cherry picked this week that seemed to work for all of my narratives. Thank you.
Of course.
A&M's tackling. A&M's tackling, I think, is something to watch here because if we are to take anything away from what Bama did last week, Bama could be fully steering into bully ball now because Jalen Milroe only threw it 12 times. He was 10 of 12 a week ago against Mississippi State. It's a lot on the ground, and I think that tackle success number could play a big role if Bama fully goes bully ball. If they fully go bully ball like we know Tommy Rees wanted to every year he was at Notre Dame and maybe now when he's at Alabama, if they go full bully ball, I think the tackle thing is something to watch. I am extremely torn here. I think A&M has improved a lot since Miami. I don't think we've talked nearly enough how much better they have gone. Everybody's been trained in on the quarterback situation and what's going on there and what's the offense. A&M has gotten a lot better since week 2. And that is despite losing Connor Wegman. So I really wanted to go with A&M here. I wanted to side with you. I am going to go Alabama 35-24.
Okay.
I really like the over 48.5 more than I like anything else in this game. I think there will be points here. So give that a look if you can trust me at all. 48.5 feels like a low number in a game like this. I'm going to go with my heart and say Alabama. Again, 35-24.
Okay. I reserve the right to be the Usain Bolt of flip-flopping if I see Max Johnson hold on to the ball too long. His second throw, okay? So if on his second throw, he holds on to the ball too long, doesn't have like some kind of awareness that an edge has beaten a tackle, and like sort of pumps and hesitates, gets hit as he throws, it goes straight up, and then somebody intercepts it. It will be at that point, if the score is 0-0, it will be at that point where I say, nope, Bama minus anything.
Yeah.
Once I have that, I'm a visual learner, Ty.
Yeah.
And I need to be reminded sometimes. So I reserve the right, once again, to be the Usain Bolt of flip-flopping 93 seconds into this game.
But by the way, if in the Texas-Oklahoma game, the shotgun your whatever moment is them talking about the 49-0 game from last year being circled, being bulletin board material for Oklahoma, the shotgun moment in this game is definitely how many times is Brad Nessler going to call out the Max to Jake Johnson combo, the brotherly love. He's creative. He's one of the best. He will find some artful way to bring
How many Brad Johnson shots will there be in the crowd?
Oh,
yeah.
Over under 3.5.
The Taylor Swift of this matchup, right? The cutaway queen.
Cutaway queen. Cutaway
Brad
king.
Johnson. Yeah.
Brad Johnson.
No. We'll stick with queen. That's fine.
Something with it's going to be a big Johnson moment. Let's say that.
Oh, Ty. Between the Super Balls and a big Johnson, this is going down a road that, look, this is who you are. These are the texts I get all the time, all hours of the night from you, but I don't think it's appropriate for this venue, Ty. Come on.